Here is the texture for the stop sign. It is not perfectly straight, but you can make yours straight if you'd like to. I just took the front, back, and part of the pole. I combined all the images so that they're on one picture, and I made the background transparent. I am giving you the link to that texture, and also you will have a Main.Materials.json to go with it that I've already filled out. So extract that folder in whatever level that you want to put it in the art folder. In its art folder, you see there is a new folder, stop sign asset. That's where these go. Ignore that. So let's get into Blender. I think I can close. Oh, let me put the new link, save it, so I don't have to go back and copy it again. Now let's get into Blender. Now I'm going to show you the easiest way to, that's not Blender. I want to show you the easiest way to make one. I mean, this is the El Cheapo dollar store variety. Family Dollar, Dollar General stop sign. Alright, we're going to just add a mesh plane. Oh, let me turn on these things so you can kind of better see what I'm doing here, what I'm pressing. Alright, so let me start over. We don't need the camera or the light. We are going to need two empty plane axes. We'll just start by making them. Add two plane axes, two empty plane axes, and make sure you're in object mode. Name one base 0, 0, and name the other one start 0, 1. Now, just like you move an icon on your desktop, except you're going to hold down shift and left click and drag and drop. And this is how the scene tree should look. Alright, so now what we're going to do is add a mesh plane, and you can rotate it. You can hold down Control so that when you rotate, it locks it at 5-degree increments. It makes it a little easier. Alright, I just moved it up. See, the ground is the green line or the red line, depending on what view you're in. Now I'm going to scale it. This is going to be the pole. Now I'm going to add another mesh. Actually, I'm going to double click this and just call this 1. Alright, now I'm going to hit Shift D and duplicate it. Hit Escape so that it'll put it where, it'll lock it in place. I'm just going to call this one 2. Now I'm going to scale this one into the shape of a square. I'm going to move it up. Now I'm going to make another duplicate. I'll call this 3. I'm going to just move it just a fraction of a hair. Just a fraction. I mean, if you're looking at a side view, this is how close they are. Damn it, I hit the wrong key. See, those are pretty close. Alright, so here's what we do now. Since we have made stretches, since we have scaled these objects, what we have to do now, select them all and apply all transforms. That way, when we unwrap the UVs, they will match the geometry of the object. If you don't, they will not match. So now we will give it a material. We'll just start with one of these, number 3, I guess. Hit materials properties, and now what you name this texture here, just so you know for future reference, is the name that is going here. And it's important that you remember if you use lowercase or uppercase. Not to be confused with this is actually the image. But these are the names, it goes 1, 2, 3 places here. That is what you're putting here. Base color, click that little button, image texture, open, and find that folder that that you put in your level, the level that you want the stop sign in. So, and pick the image, open image. Now, I won't even tell you to click this because you're going to have to click it again. And to save you some time, go ahead and move this all the way over. Now go to edit mode with number 3 selected. Edit mode, UV editing, and you got to move this over again. This is stupid, but click this ball that's in the middle. That will show you the texture where it is for this object. Oh, I was on the wrong side. It's like, where the hell is my texture at? Okay, I was looking at the wrong one. With this here, face select, you can select a face. You can select all these points, and you can rotate. And remember, you can hold control down to make it lock. Now, this one doesn't really matter. This is the back of the stop sign. But what I'm going to do now is scale this. I'm going to move it Alright, now since this thing wasn't straight, the image, like my texture wasn't straight, you can grab these little points and you can make these straight, and then it'll make it look straight here. Now if you look what I'm doing, I'm moving these so that they maximize the area. Alright. Now we'll flip around to the front. We'll pick object 1. We have to click object mode again. Pick object object 2. Now we already made the texture, and since all 3 pictures are on one image, well, all we're going to do here is just add the texture this way. Then go to edit mode, pick this face, and as you can see, this isn't lined up either, so we select all these, we rotate them around, and we scale it. Which this is scale, this is rotate, this is move. I'm just using the hotkeys so I don't have to keep clicking on those things. And just like the other one, I'm gonna just move these. How's that? That's a stop sign. Alright, now the pole. Pick the first object. Click on the I gotta go to object mode. Pick the pole in object mode, then go to edit mode. Pick the face, and what you'll see is this is not correct. So what you had to do is go to UV, Unwrap. Now the correct geometry is matching the shape, but you don't see a picture in here. So what you have to do is with object 1 here, you have to give it the texture it's going to have, but since you did it after the fact, it'll show up like this. Sometimes you have to manually pick it out of this list here, just so you know. It's not, sometimes everything doesn't go quite like it should. Alright, now we're going to pick this thing, we're going to rotate it, I'm going to move it, and we're going to do our best to line this sucker up. I realize this part of this pole is the side of the pole. That's why when I'm lining this up, I will be sure to omit that. Alright, so there's our pole. Now the poles on, at least the ones in our neighborhood, the pole goes all the way up to the top of the stop sign just a little bit. We can go back to object mode. We can pick our object. We can scale it like this. And you don't want that, so we're going to move it like this. Now, if you don't want the thing to be paper thin and you want it to look like a pole, then what you can do, let's go to layout. Let's duplicate this. Shift D. Let's rotate it along the Z axis, 90 degrees. I gotta zoom out. I mean, you can make it plus sign like that, but that ain't what I had in mind. Just gonna move it, and we'll duplicate that one, move it. And then duplicate this one and move it. All right, there we got our stop sign there. All right, now let's move this back over. Actually, you didn't even need to move that, because I ended up having to move it again once I got into edit mode. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take all these objects. We're going to object join. Now you can name this if you want to now, actually stop sign. You call it whatever you want to call it, don't matter. Alright, now before we do anything else, let's move it into the start folder by holding shift, left click, and dragging and dropping it into start. Now you can use this measure thing to get the proper height, but make sure you're in a perfect front view when you use this measure thing, and then you can measure it up. So this thing says it's 15 meters tall. Well, we know a stop sign isn't 15 meters tall. Now personally, what I do, I just import in something from the game, like this car. That just, to me, that is a better visualization, you know. Now I'm just scaling this down till it's about the size of a stop sign. I guess that's about right. And we'll get rid of the car now. Now, I'm going to make this thing so that it's in the center of the world by object set origin to 3D cursor, object set origin geometry to origin, and now I'm just simply going to move it up out of the ground again. Setting the origin to 3D cursor. If you already got it where you want it to go, you still want to set the origin to the 3D cursor. And what that does is the game knows where 0, 0, 0 is in relation to where the object was created. If you happen to have made the damn thing somewhere over here, when you go to spawn it in your game, you'll be by your car and you won't see it spawn, and you'll realize, oh, it's over there, because that's not 0, 0, 0. That's, you know, hell, like 200 and something by something by something. So that's why you move the thing, or that's why you set the origin. Now, if you're doing like rotating and stuff, and different things. Let me not. I don't even want to get into all that. Let me just leave it like this. And uh, this is a very small object. You probably will gonna have problems colliding with it, but we'll make a duplicate of it anyway. And we're going to name the duplicate COLMESH-1. All right. Now we're going to export this asset as a DAE into our level that we're wanting to test it in the art folder, in that stop sign asset folder that I told you about earlier. Stop sign. The texture's already in there, so it doesn't matter if that's checked or not. It's already there. It's not going to matter. Make sure that by default this isn't selected. You don't want selection only. You want it to send all this stuff. So there it goes. Now let's load the game. Load that level. All right. Hit F11 to get into your editor, and in your asset browser, once it loads, in the art folder here, you should see the folder that I told you to create, and in that you will see the DAE. Left click, drag and drop onto your screen. Now what you see here is the texture is not correct, meaning it's not transparent where it should be. So we pick the object with the object select, go to Material Editor, in Advanced, Alpha Clip, and I'll get pretty close to it so you can see what this does. Alpha Clip removes the black around the edge. That's actually the transparent. I don't know why that image, I thought I cut all that out. I don't know how that's still I don't know how that's still in there. It's not in the it's not in the damn texture, so I don't know how that ended up in there, but well, it's in there. But that was originally what was in the damn picture before I cut out the background. But anyway, this is how you remove that. Double-sided just means that you see the front and the back. But since we made all these objects and we duplicated like all the four sides for the pole, and we made a separate piece for the back, then well, you need to turn on double-sided if it's not already on, because basically what I did not do is take into account when I made that plane for each side, that the right side was facing out. So there's a front and a back, even though it's paper thin, and unless you got this double-sided, you're not going to see it. It's going to be invisible. Whether you want it to cast shadows or receive shadows, anastrophic filtering. Now, I'm not getting into all the other possibilities, but you can do, you can make this all different kinds of, add different kinds of stuff to give it different kinds of properties. If you wanted it to be more like a real stop sign, now it's just got just a little bit of sheen on it. It just slightly reflects the level. Save the material. Now what you'll notice if you go back into your file for any reason, in that level, levels, industrial, art, stop sign. If we open this file now, since I already had Notepad++ open, it's telling me, hey, your file here, it was just changed because we just made a few changes. It's important that you remove these directory locations that the game adds so that you just have the image. By doing this and then resaving the file will allow you to basically move this folder. Oh, damn it, let me get back to it. Basically, you can move this folder to any other level without having to make the material for the other level. Let's see, let's put it in here. Art. Just as long as you put the folder in your level's art folder. Since a lot of the levels in the art folder already has a Main.Materials.json, that's why this has to have its own folder, because it's got its own materials file. You can't have two in the same directory as far as I know. So let's load the other level. Oh, wait a minute. Let me show you the last thing about this. After you place a stop sign, you can rebuild collisions or hit Control F7. That way when you drive, you'll collide with it. Which I didn't collide with it, did I? Yeah, I did. It's just this is such a small object. To have the collisions work correctly, you'd have to cheat. You'd basically have to make a bigger collision box so that it's got a better detection than this small pole can provide. You just have to make a larger box. I'll just delete this collision mesh. I'll just show you real quick. Mesh cube, scale it, move it up. That's good enough. Set the origin to 3D cursor, apply all transforms. Hold shift, move it into start. Double click on the cube name here. Call it COLMESH-1. Damn it. COLMESH-1. Re-export it. And this should dynamically update in the game right away. You just have to rebuild the collisions. Control F7 to rebuild collisions. It's much better. See, I can turn on the ground model debug and it will show you the collision mesh for the object. You see, that is actually the collision mesh there, the one we just made. It's like everything, even the ground's got collision, everything's got collision. Alternatively, you can pick the object, and where you see collision type, you can change this to visible mesh. Yeah, visible mesh, and it will use the mesh for the collision mesh. I don't like doing this way. I like to make, because sometimes your model may be very high geometry and you don't want to have a second very high geometry object also doubling as the collision mesh. You want to keep it simple geometry so that it will not be so much performance, but it's just a simple geometry. This ain't going to matter. I'm not even going to get into making this optimized because this is such a simple object. There's no point. Alright, let's load that other level and I'll show you how that is in there. The stop sign is in there. There we are. The developers, they could learn a lot by doing this. Then you could just move all their damn assets from one level to the other without having to also make sure the textures are also converted to the level. I don't know why they don't do that, but it seemed like it would make a lot more sense to me. But what do I know? Alright, I guess the next thing is, in another video, if anybody would like, I will attempt to make this a mod that you can run into and it will bend and deform like a real stop sign, but be anchored to the ground. You know, like how you see how people run into them in your neighborhood and they just bend all the way over, but they're still in one spot. They didn't go anywhere, they just collapsed or bent all over and stuff. That's what I'll do in the next video, which that should be pretty simple to do. But I think that's it. I can't think of anything else that I haven't already went over. I mean, that's pretty much everything.